Drowning in Sand, Chapter 2, The Sickies and the Alienated, Part 3. Now he's sitting in his chair in the kitchen. He can smell them from here, Miss Nevershe and Pissed. It smells as if they both wet themselves. He makes a mental note to himself not to put Pissed in his lap today, but he forgets most of his mental notes anyway. The drooping skin, which looks rubbery but smells like new plastic, sickens him. He threw up just a little while ago, again, but he can't know for sure if it was the pitching of the pills down his gullet or seeing the 70-something-year-old flesh trying to evacuate from its swollen master, or a combination of everything. The television changes channel, and the screen is filled with an eyeball. There's a knock on the front door. A cough comes from Ehab's room. Silence emits from Tanya's darkness, and the front door opens without a second knock. Footsteps enter the foyer. Matt calls out, "Oh, come on in," and they do. The next cough from Ehab's room sounds as if it may be his last. It finally stops, and Matt asks, "You all right in there, Ehab?" The only reply is a smaller cough, and then the channel in the living room med TV changes to an inner ear operation. Map looks over at them and says, without a smile, "He's fine, I guess." They don't smile either. They look at each other with ennui. One of them spits sand from her mouth onto the threadbare carpet. She says to her co-worker, "Let's get on with this. 2 more units, and then we can get away from the stinking hellhole." Her co-worker nods and reaches her small, pale hands into a bag she's carrying and takes out an electronic notebook. She holds the device cradled in her left arm, and then she types into it with her right hand. The one with the computer in her arms types a bit more and then says, without eye contact, Matt Barron." He corrects her, Matt Barron's. She shrugs. She makes no movement with the typing hand to change the error. The other one, the smaller of two, says under her breath, "Whatever. Let's just do what we need to do and get on to the next unit." She's carrying a handbag identical to the other nurses. The one with the electronic notebook, the taller one, says, "All right, you're first today. I'm Princess." "Can't wait," Matt says as he wheels his chair down the hall towards his room. Princess, as she passes Ehab's room, says through the door, "I'll be there in a few minutes, Ahab." There's a slight cough of reply. "It's Ehab," Matt informs her. "Rehab?" "Ehab." "Is he looking any better, Mr. Ehab?" "Is he what?" "Is he looking any better?" I've never so much as seen a glimpse of the man." "Oh yeah, Princess," the nurse says, walking slowly behind his wheelchair. "You're the green one here. I never expected he would be here so long, convalescing by the sea, as the doctor says." Map says, "The doctor was here last night." "Last night?" "Well, yeah, early this morning." "What for?" Before he could respond, the other nurse, who had by this time found her way to the living room, has spotted the colossal Miss Nevershe in her immense tub. As the shorter nurse, who never introduces herself, is entranced by howling snores coming from the seemingly comatose woman, the senile pink poodle stands up, looks around, pees on the floor, and immediately expands again to the size of a medicine ball. The shorter nurse runs down the hall and grabs Princess by the back of her sandy uniform and says, "Holy country seat, have you seen what happened to that old bitch in there?" "Which one?" "What? Which bitch?" "The ancient pink one." Map interrupts the two nurses with, "She won't bite you." "Which one?" "The pink one." "What about the other one?" "Miss Nevershe?" "Yeah, Miss Nevershe. She might bite you. I'd be careful." The short nurse stands in the hallway. Matt has stopped his chair, and Princess is stuck between the two of them. The short one says, "Maybe I'll deal with that one next." "Where's the nutcase? The one with her teeth falling out?" "Tanya?" It's Tanya, and if the sun is up, she's in her room." "Doing what?" "I don't know. I don't go in there." Matt begins to wheel himself into his room. The nurse Princess follows behind him, and he hears something mumbled under the breath of the smaller nurse. They wheel on into his room. Princess closes the door behind them. She asks Map, "How long you been down here? You weren't here last time I was here. Let me see your wrist and get your pulse." He extends his arm to her. "Oh, I guess about 2 weeks, give or take. The meds make me a little off sometimes, you know." She's looking at her small wristwatch and counting to herself as she takes his pulse, so she doesn't answer him, but does nod, expressionlessly. After a minute, she drops his hand and picks up her electronic notebook that she placed on his bed and types into it. She reaches into her bag and wrestles around and finally extracts a digital thermometer. She holds it in her left hand and rummages around more with her right hand in the bag. As she doesn't say anything, Map breaks the silence, the verbal silence that is. The wind has picked up outside and the waves are noisily crashing down on the trashed beach. He asks her, "What happened to Ehab? Why is he here?" "Open wide," she says, and he does, and she sticks the thermometer into Map's mouth and continues, Ehab, well, you haven't seen him?" Map shakes his head no, and she says, "He's burned from head to toe. From head to toe." A house fire, I think, maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't care. "Open up." He does, and she takes the thermometer out and looks at it, and then types into her notebook. "Oh, I didn't realize that," Map said. "I thought maybe it was lung cancer or something like that." The nurse says, "I think he inhaled enough smoke to kill an elephant. I hadn't expected him to live this long, really. The last time he was on my route, he looked horrible. He sounded horrible." "He spoke to you?" "No, has he spoken to you?" I've never seen him." "But you've heard him, right? Through the walls? They're paper thin. I've heard him cough. That's all he can do. Take off your shirt, stand up." "Pardon?" "Take off your shirt and turn around and stand up." He hesitates. She waits. He begins to pull himself up, but sits back down after the pain moves through his entire being. He begins to sweat. She waits. He tries again and feels as if he will throw up, but he doesn't. She says to him, "Here." She extends her right hand towards him. He laughs a little, smiles for the first time in a long time. She understands and holds out both of her hands. She says again, "Let me try to help you." "No offense, but you're what, 19 years old and 120 pounds? 21 and 110. Thank you. Here." She's still holding out her hands steadily. "Are you ready?" "I'm ready. Is this gonna hurt?" "Yeah, I understand that it does, but it'll help. I just need you on the bed, on your stomach, with your shirt off." "Needles?" "Needle. 1. I used to hate needles. Now, they're old hat. Ready?" "Ready." She grips his hand and pulls him up. He hurts and fights the vomit feeling. His vision tunnels, and then he's standing on his feet, half supporting himself, half being supported by Princess. He closes his eyes for 30 seconds or so, dizzy, and when he reopens them, his tunnel vision is gone. He removes his left hand from Princess's firm grip and wipes beads of sweat from his forehead. He smiles a little, looks down at her blue eyes, and says, "You're stronger than you look." "I've been told that before, by larger men, bigger people. You ready?" She lets go of him. He sits on the bed, removes his long-sleeved shirt and then his t-shirt, and he maneuvers with a pained yelp onto his stomach. She reaches into her bag and removes a packet of alcohol swabs, tears it open, and puts it on his back. She takes a pre-prepared syringe from her bag, takes the protective cap off, and holds it in her mouth as she wipes the alcohol swab onto Map's lower spine. He shivers. "All right, are you ready?" "I guess so." She inserts the needle into his back. She's off by a little bit. She hits a nerve, and his legs involuntarily kick. She apologizes slightly, and then steps back across the room and drops the used needle into a bright red wastebasket. She reaches in her bag and pulls out another needle. "Let's try this again." "Why not?" She hesitates, spits a little sand on the floor and says, "God, I hate that nasty sand. I don't see how you live here." Map starts, "Well," but he never finishes his thought. She wipes a cold alcohol swab on his spine again. Again, he shivers. "Hold on, I'm not going anywhere." She plunges the second needle into the right place, maybe by skill, maybe by chance. And Map tries to keep his composure, and he makes fists so tight that his fingernails dig into his skin, and his left palm begins to bleed a little. It seems to him that she leaves the needle in there for a minute, but it's probably only there for a second, 3. She pulls it out. The cool sensation from the alcohol wipe has disappeared, and the initial sting from the needle biting through his skin is gone, but he feels waves of pain rippling away. and then he releases his fists. He hears her drop the needle into the wastebasket. He unclenches his teeth. She's zipping up her bag. He's closing his eyes. She says, "You might find yourself a little tired for a while. Be still." She looks down at him. His eyes are already closed. "I'm gonna go check on Mr. Ahab." He dreamily corrects her. "Ahab," she goes on, "and when I'm done with him, I'll peek back in on you." Map is asleep from the medicine before she even leaves the room.